Today I'm riding the F900 GS. It's BMW's baby GS if you like, and I'm keen to see how it shapes up to its big brother, the 1300 GS. So stick around, stay tuned, I'll give you my first ride review. Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome back to the channel where, as you've spotted, I'm on another bike review. And as you've already heard, it's the F900 GS that I'm on. Now, I'm a massive fan of GS's in general, but normally when I talk GS, I'm talking big GS. And in the past, the sort of baby GS, the F850, has always been kind of in the shadow of its big brother, hasn't it? Well, this bike, very interested to ride because I rode the F900 XR when that came out a couple of years ago now. And I really like that bike, and this particular version of the GS, completely different to the old outgoing 850 GS, and this is much closer to that XR that I like so much. It's got the same engine effectively, albeit I'm sure with a different state of tune. So really keen to see what this bike's like. So I'm going to do my usual little, or one of my usual little test loops out of Barnstormer at Maidenhead. See how this one shapes up. Before we get too excited though, let's take a closer look at the bike. Okay, so here she is then, the F900 GS. This particular one is in what's called Sao Paulo yellow and comes as part of what BMW call the Passion Pack. This one also has a dynamic pack, I think, which means you get the Quick Shift Pro. You can see the little quick shifter there, and also you get some extra riding modes on this one. Oh, and also, just so you know, this one's got the, this is an optional, I think it's called the M Sport chain. This is that gives you the gold chain, which I think BMW claim is self-maintaining or whatever, so I'd love to see it clean itself and oil itself. Anyway, there we go. So I think in that yellow it looks quite special. Not sure I would actually go for the yellow. It comes in some other colours too, but I do think it's quite a handsome looking bike actually. Front end of this one, none of your funny business here. This looks quite good. It looks sort of Dakar-esque, quite upright at the front, but I think it quite works. It's got a big old 21-inch front wheel on here, and this one fitted with on-road tyres. Obviously this is sort of it's a proper enduro bike now. Love what they've done with the upswept exhaust on here. Worth mentioning, it's an Akrapovic, as you can see, and they are fitted as standard on all of these. That's not an optional extra. You get one of those no matter what. We'll have a listen to the engine a bit more in a minute. But yeah, it looks good with the red subframe, and yeah, looks like a off-roady bike should look, doesn't it? And don't say I'll never come off-road. Look, I've parked it on some dirt. Alright, let's jump back on. Okay, so much for what she looks like. How does she ride? Well, once you've ridden a few bikes, you get a sort of an immediate feel for a bike pretty much as soon as you jump on. And as soon as I pulled out of Barnstormers on this, the first thing that struck me, well, two things actually. One was how light the bike is, or how light the bike feels, and two, how tall it is. Now we'll go through the full specs a little bit later, but it has quite a tall seat on this. I think it's 890mm, which for me as a shorty sounds a frightening number, but it's quite a narrow waisted bike, so it's fine. I'm 5'8" with relatively long legs, but I can get my feet on the deck, not flat footed on my tiptoes, but okay. But if you are a shorty, you can get a slightly lower model, or certainly a seat that lowers the height anyway, so no worries there. More significantly for me, particularly comparing it to the old outgoing 850 GS, is that weight saving. Now, there was nothing wrong per se with the outgoing 850 GS, but I just found that it just felt very, very heavy, particularly compared to its bigger brother, the then 1250 GS. Shifting that 850 GS around was just hard work because it was very top heavy. Well, this one doesn't suffer from that at all. It feels remarkably light when you get on it. In terms of the riding position, classic GS. It actually feels, I rode down here on my 1200 GS, and the riding position on this feels exactly the same. The geometry as far as the rider's concerned, you know, my legs are tucked up a little bit but not too much. Handlebars are nice and wide. It's got a roomy feel to it. It does not feel like a small bike in any way. It's not a small bike, but it certainly doesn't feel like one. But it also feels quite substantial at the front end here. You've got quite a lot of fuel tank here. Reminds me more of the old R1250 GS than the new R1300 GS, which is very thin. Sorry, there's a lot of GSs to keep up with here. But yeah, it feels quite substantial when you're sat on it. But as I say, it feels lovely and light. It's actually got something like a 14 kilograms weight saving over the outgoing 850 GS that I found so heavy. And One of the reasons for that is they've apparently replaced the aluminium fuel tank with a plastic one now, and that's where a lot of the weight saving has come from, which is incredible that it saves that sort of weight, but apparently that's where the majority is from, I'm told. Crikey, check how high the river is here. This is springtime in Blighty, of course, when I'm recording this, and the weather hasn't been great, but my word, we've certainly had a lot of rain, because that river is looking very high at the moment. Let's hope there's not there'll be no hosepipe bans this year. Anyway, back to the bike. So yeah, riding position, lovely and familiar, comfortable. What I would say is the seat is quite hard. I'm not saying it's uncomfortable, but it's not as soft and cushiony as I'm used to on, for example, my old GS. But it's pretty roomy, you can move around on it, so, you know, if you are taller, you can find a spot that's comfortable for you. This reminds me of riding a sort of a cross between something like a KTM 890 and the new 1300 GS. If you merge those two, you'd end up with a bike like this, which might be the perfect sweet spot, I don't know. What I do like about this bike is it's nice and simple, but we'll get to that in a second. Well, in fact, let's get to it now. What I mean by nice and simple, this bike is it's not laden with loads of electronics. It's got what you need, of course, but it's not over complicated. If you look at the switchgear on this one, typical BMW switchgear, but it's not absolutely crowded out. This one has got a whiz wheel, which I think is so that you can do the connected ride stuff, and indeed make changes to the TFT in the usual way. It's got the, as you can see, the usual BMW TFT, which is just an absolute winner. This one, as you can see, quite greyed out, which means it's one of the more basic bikes, but that's fine with me. But yeah, TFT is absolutely brilliant on this. BMW just make the best TFTs, don't they? And this one on the F900 GS, no exception. It's got this little dinky screen on here, which at the moment is working fine, but I'm only doing 30 miles now through town, so can't tell yet how effective that's going to be. We'll go on some slightly faster roads in a minute to see what the wind protection's like. Not adjustable either, so this bar here, actually I thought you might grab and move. Not the case, it is fixed. You can get a bigger touring screen if you want that, but that bar quite handy if you want to mount up your phone or whatever for navigation, if you want to go down that route. Mirrors, usual BMW mirrors, perfectly, work really well. I'm not looking at my shoulder, they're nice and clear, no vibration. Given this has a twin cylinder engine, I have to say it feels very smooth. It's lovely, it's not all thumpy through town there when you're going slowly. It's lovely, the fueling, no issue with it at all, nice and smooth, but enough of a twin rumble there to give you a bit of character to let you know that you're on a motorbike. Definitely in that sweet spot. It feels very refined actually. Man, we are so spoilt with motorcycles these days. It just all feels so darn good. Alright, while I'm in the search for slightly faster roads, let's just whiz you through the specs of the bike. Let me take you through the numbers. Okay, before we go through the numbers, I should show you this rather nice pub that I've stopped at. Look, this looks very pleasant, doesn't it? Nice on a summer's day, maybe not so much today. Anyway, right, back to the bike, down to specs then. Let's start off with the engine, 105 brake horsepower. This 895cc inline twin puts out at 8,500 RPM, 93 Newton meters of torque at 6,750 RPM. I would say perfect amount of power both for the road and for off-roading. Brakes at the front, dual 305mm discs with 2-pot calipers, and at the back a 265mm disc with a single pot Brembo caliper. The wheels on this giving it its off-road credentials. Up the front we've got a 21-incher, and down the back we've got a 17-incher. Suspension on the front, we've got these Showa upside down forks giving 230mm of travel, and that is adjustable too. And tucked in the rear we've got this monoshock which gives 215mm of travel, and as you can see that's adjustable by that remote adjuster too. Seat height on here, 870mm, is rather tall, but it's nice and narrow waisted, so even shorties like me can get their feet on the floor on the tippy toes. If you don't want to be on tippy toes, then you can get a lower seat which takes it down to 815mm. I'd definitely spec that. Weight of the bike, 219 kilograms fully fueled, which is pretty good I'd say, and a full 14 kilograms lighter than the outgoing bike. Tank capacity on the F900, 14.5 litres. Electronics wise, the bike comes with the standard 6.5-inch TFT. It comes with heated grips as standard, which is a nice touch. One thing it doesn't come with is cruise control, which I think would be something rather good on this, but unfortunately doesn't come with that. It comes with ABS Pro, DTC, which is the traction control, rain and road driving modes, LED lights, It's got a 12-volt USB socket and, as I say, heated grips. Optionally, you can get Riding Modes Pro, keyless, shift assist pro, tyre pressure monitoring and emergency call. Pricing on the bike as standard is $11,995. This particular spec that has the dynamic pack and that Sao Paulo yellow paint scheme comes in at $12,898. There's the Acura exhaust, which I like, looks high level and comes as standard on the bike. Also, you can get vario luggage for it, you can get a bigger windscreen, connected ride navigator, engine bars, different seats and much more. Also comes in black, trophy colours and I think green as well. So, welcome back aboard the bike, folks, and this is the lovely town of Cookham, which I often visit on my little test rides from Barnstormer in Maidenhead. I must say thank you to those guys and the crew up at Barnstormers. If you're in the area, go and check them out. Friendly bunch, always lots of demo bikes in if you want to have a ride on something. So thanks to those guys for letting me borrow their demo and get it all messy. Now the reason I'm coming up this way is just once you're through town here, there are some slightly twistier roads and then I can join a faster road as well. So just want to see how she handles and what she's like from a wind and weather protection point of view. Oh, so nice to be out in a bit of warmth and sunshine. 11 degrees apparently. Right, and if I'm not mistaken, there's a twistier bit of road just up here. Oh my word, not only is it twisty, it's bumpy as hell. The state of this road surface is shocking. I've made some fixes to the potholes, but it's still pretty flipping bumpy. Which is quite useful to see how the suspension handles it. Firm but fair, I would say. It's not rattling me fillings out or anything like that. And it is a horribly bumpy old road. The suspension soaks it up rather nicely. Lovely note to the engine on here. As I mentioned, that twin just gives it a bit of character. Not in a bad way at all. That coupled with the exhaust gives it a nice note. Puts a grin on your face when you open her up slightly. Unfortunately, the microphone in this helmet doesn't tend to pick up bike noises too well, but this is a sweet one. Bike goes alright. Let's just try the brakes, but there's nothing behind me. Wow, not bad. Not too much fork dive actually, given the large amount of suspension travel. I thought the front would dive more than that. Let's just try that again. Nothing behind me. No, I mean it does dive, no doubt about it, but it's not hideous and it's not all bouncy. It's well damped and well in control. I like that. Still nothing behind me. I'm just going to try the back brake and see if we can get the ABS to cut in very easily or not. Yeah, it cuts in straight away pretty much, but it is a damp old day on the roads, as you can see. This is what they want. It is a bit damp, so I don't want to go nuts, but it's so light feeling, this bike, it's pretty confidence inspiring. We haven't said that. Just felt the back slide out a little bit, and there on that drain. A little bit careful. Man, these road surfaces are bad. But this is the sort of bike you need for it, because it just soaks them up no problem at all. This is what I would describe as a proper adventure bike. You could handle any sort of terrain on this. I wouldn't have any qualms about going off-road on this. Nothing too gnarly, of course. We're going off-road on this rather than, say, its big brother, the 1300 GS. This would be easy to handle because it does feel so light. Strap a couple of bags to the back, and this is a brilliant round-the-world bike. Not that I'm going around the world, but you know what I mean. Definitely a do anything. I like it a lot. Yeah, no problem with the handling. Feels nice. I mean, you do have to get it round the corners, and it's got that big front wheel, so you know, it doesn't turn in as fast as maybe the 1300 GS, but it's not a problem. It certainly feels lighter than that bike. and I can't say I'm missing the horsepower particularly. Not that I've been going mad or anything, but it's perfectly enough for the road. Right, let's find myself that faster road then. See what it's like from a wind protection point of view. Alright, quick blat on the dual carriageway. Quickly up to 70 miles an hour. And in terms of wind protection, it's alright actually. I am in the wind blast. The wind starts at sort of mid-visor level for me, but it's nice and smooth airflow. Weird shape to that screen. I suspect they've done some clever CFD or wind tunnel testing or something on that, because the wind coming off that is completely clean and not turbulent. So although I am in the wind blast, as I say, actually a little bit on my chest as well, I'm not being battered to death. So if you do have to do some motorway miles, absolutely fine, and there's ample power to get past other traffic on the road as well, no problem at all. Yeah, there's absolutely loads of go here if you need it. So, ticking the box for faster roads. Nice bit of wind protection lower down as well with this big fuel tank, no wind on my lower half. Nice one. So normally, of course, I like to do reviews of bikes in what I regard as their natural habitat. Now in the case of this bike, it's definitely got off-roady potentials, this, and I'm not taking it off-road. I'm not an off-road rider for various reasons, mostly because I'm rubbish at it. But I suspect, just from the way this feels, the look of the bike, the spec of the bike, it would be fantastic off-road. So if you are into that, then I think this one's well worth a look. Or indeed, if you want an all-round bike that does a bit of everything, that you can go adventuring on and have a bit of fun on, and this one ticks those boxes too. Thrilled to see that we actually have a key look. It's not keyless, this one, which I like. That's the old keyless ignition thing is one of those problems that I've never thought, you know, is a solution to a problem that never existed, if you see what I mean. I like the fact it doesn't have one of those what I call piss pot brake fluid reservoirs. This looks a bit more substantial. I love the simplicity of the switch gear on here. Of course I love the BMW TFT, and also the spec and the price of the bike is all what I'd say in the sweet spot. So it really comes down to, I guess, you know, do you like the looks of it and do you fit it? You know, get yourself a test ride, pop down, see the guys at Barnstormer, have a go on this very demo bike, see what you think. But I have to say I've been impressed with it. I enjoyed the XR, which felt very similar. And if you don't want the weight and the cost and the complexity of the big GS 1300, then definitely consider the F900. Way better than the bike it replaces, the F850 GS, which although on paper competent, I just found wasn't a lot of fun and was just too heavy to move around. Whereas this is fun, it's got a bit of character, feels nice and light. Any downsides? Maybe for me a little bit tall. I'd probably go for the low seat option. But other than that, I really can't see any downsides. It's a thumbs up from me on my first impressions review of the F900 GS. So there we go. That's it for this time. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. and Flyer. Cheerio.
Hey kids, we're the Mr. and Flyers.